Hi everybody, it's Thursday, it's Litsoc. We're back after the holidays, and today it's celebrating Winnie the Pooh, who has a special day next week. We'll also be talking about other bears as well, such as his great friend Paddington, because he's our mascot. Okay, so we're just going to start with the very first chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees, and the stories begin. Are we sitting comfortably? Yes. Then we'll begin. Here is Edward Bear coming downstairs now. Bump, bump, bump on the back of his head. Poor old Edward Bear. You want to hold him up?
Hold him to the camera.
Hold him up to the camera. There he is. There's Edward Bear. Behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that really there is another way. If only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyway, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. Want to hold him up?
Yeah. Every time you say it, hold him up.
Yeah. When I first heard his name, I said, just as you are going to say.
But I thought he was a boy.
So did I.
Said Christopher Robin.
Then you can't call him Winnie.
I don't.
But you said...
He's Winnie the Pooh. Don't you know what "the" means?
Ah, yes, now I do, I said quickly.
And I hope you do too, because it is all the explanation you're going to get. Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story. This evening...
What about a story?
Said Christopher Robin.
What about a story?
I said.
Could you very sweetly tell Winnie the Pooh one?
I suppose I could.
I said.
What sort of stories does he like?
About himself, because he's that sort of bear.
I see.
So could you very sweetly...
I'll try.
I said. So I tried. Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. And there he is, under the name of Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sanders lives most of the time in the sixth form centre, however, and sometimes comes to Litsoc, as we know. There he is. There's Edward Bear, sunning himself under his nameplate. No, of course, it's him, with his bell. And because all the animals, don't they, in the forest have their own little homes. Okay, so there we are. There's the introduction to Winnie the Pooh. Sound familiar? Remember it? Yeah? Even though, Mariam, you gave up, didn't you, because of the Heffalump story?
I didn't give up.
Well, no, I'm not saying you got scared.
Yes.
Yes, it is scary. Pooh and
But
Piglet get very scared.
Quite a few. And the fact that it was illustrated as well, they appeared in quite a few of my nightmares.
Oh, dear. Dear. Crystal, did you have nightmares about bears?
Not bears. I had them about zombies. Oh. It was like
Okay.
I don't know why I did.
Perhaps they were on the very much in them. Perhaps you watched something, had you?
I didn't watch something. I read a book that I can't remember by now.
Probably a good idea if you can't remember it.
It was on my nightmare for like 3 weeks, and I suffered as a child.
Oh dear.
Used to run to my parents.
Oh. Well, there is Edward Bear coming down the stairs. See, bump, bump, bump on the back of his head. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yes. Now, do you know the story about this particular type of Winnie the Pooh? Edward Bear. Do you know the story about the illustration? Have you got that leaflet still from the library?
Yeah, but I don't think it will go into regular
It won't,
detail.
but it's got the picture.
I was definitely going to talk about this later, by the way.
Oh, all right.
But no, you can you say what you're going to say.
This is Christopher Robin's bear.
Mm-hmm.
This was Mr. Shepherd's daughter's, who made the illustrations, daughter's bear. I can't tell you his name, not this actual copy, but the illustration. So everybody got a bit confused, but nonetheless, that's the shape. And very kindly, our Winnie the Pooh was given to us by a former teacher here. She left it behind after she left, which was thank you. And we still have it, our friends of mascots. So there's Winnie the Pooh, who is written by. Can you remember who's written by? A A Milne. Do you know anything about A A Milne, Marianne?
Quite a lot of conspiracy theories.
Well, that's something.
Well,
Definitely real.
real.
Not about A A Milne, but I have been to the 100 Acre Wood.
you?
Yes, of course you have. course you have.
My mum is very fond of long walks in very cold weather. So yeah, we went along, and it was very nice actually. Very good, nice wood. And they had lots of Winnie the Pooh themed stuff.
Have you, D&V, are you doing silver D&V?
God no.
You're not. Okay. It's just silver D&V. Last year we went to 100 Acre Wood. Went to
Oh,
Ashdown
yeah,
Forest. And we went
Ashdown
to
Forest,
100,
yeah.
Which I'll talk about a bit later, because I've got a whole raft of stuff
Oh,
on,
great.
on the real life 100 Acre
The
Wood.
real life 100 Acre Wood. Yeah. Have you two been to Winnie the Pooh's home?
I
No.
went there.
You went there.
Yeah.
Did you play Pooh sticks?
No.
No.
I was just walking around my family. My
You walked
mother
around?
was a bit young, so we couldn't go around for a long time. But yeah, it was really nice. It was really quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, unless they're hordes of tourists, but yes, yeah. And it's beautiful, beautiful wood forest. Very, very ancient. Very ancient. And A A Milne lived in the area. Have you seen the film about Christopher Robin and A A Milne? What's it called?
Well, there's two of them.
There are
isn't
two
there?
now, aren't there?
Do you mean the one
There's
that was...
Goodbye Christopher Robin.
Goodbye Christopher Robin.
and
There was one that was about 10 years ago, wasn't there?
Yeah, and then there was one
Goodbye
more
Christopher
recently.
Robin?
There's one which is a bit more real life, which is a bit sadder, and then one that when is it with Ewan McGregor where he can see Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, that's the one I haven't seen,
I haven't
seen
which I
that
think
one
is, yeah,
I know
I
the
can't
one...
remember what that one's called,
yes,
but
yeah.
yeah, I haven't seen either of them.
Have
But
any of you
I've been
seen
meaning
any
to.
of the...
I've seen some kind of show to do with Winnie the Pooh. I don't know if it was a film or a series or something like that, but I've
Okay.
definitely seen something.
Yeah, sometimes things come up and you just sort of, then they just sort of disappear and you forget about them. But so he's still very popular, isn't he? And of course became global icon after the Disney film, where he's got a little red jacket. He doesn't have a jacket in the books, and he's got a very particular voice. And they're all sort of heightened in colour, but it's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautifully done. So from a story that was told to Christopher Robin, who's a real son of A A Milne, he's just just a worldwide phenomenon, as big as Peter Rabbit, if not bigger sometimes. Depends on
Probably
how
I think
on where
more
we are.
worldwide.
Certainly
Yeah,
worldwide,
worldwide.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So A A Milne was a writer, and he wrote a very famous detective story called The Red House Mystery. And again, that comes from time to time, becomes fashionable again, and then there's films done on series, and so he comes in and out of sort of fashion, but he's still one of our most familiar young childhood writers. And he has his own Twitter handle, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, yeah.
And they've liked the fact that we're doing Litsoc this afternoon on Winnie the Pooh, which is lovely. So Winnie the Pooh has a special day, which is next.
It's next week. I can't
It
remember
is
which
next
day.
week, but because it's Year 9 Parents' Eve next week, we decided we'd we're celebrating today. So, what are the things you like about Winnie the Pooh, you three, if you do?
You must, surely.
When
Don't
I
think
s-
about that.
Like, when
Crystal?
I saw the movie, I didn't see the original one, but I saw one of the recent ones,
Yes.
and it was really relaxing. I nearly fell asleep in the middle, and
In a good way.
Yeah.
Relax.
Because it's incredibly boring.
it's like all of them in the nature, just like running around and having nice time together and
Yes.
exploring.
Yes.
And like recent days, internets are like more used, but in that movie it's not.
Yeah.
So
Didn't exist.
it was really like heartwarming and relaxing.
Yeah, and I think that's a lovely word. Heartwarming is great. Yes,
Yeah, very much so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they all live in nature. They all have to deal with nature. Do you remember the scene where they have to evacuate because of the floods. That's what would be happening today.
Mm.
They get into an umbrella and Christopher Robin's paddling away. Do you remember that? I'm not sure it's in the film, it's certainly in the book with a lovely illustration. So sort of real life but fantastical situations as well.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, heartwarming, uplifting. Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good, one of the best things about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have it as a child?
I had a copy of the one we were just reading actually, but I don't know where it's gone. Unfortunately, it got lost. But yeah, I really loved it, and it's something that my parents read to me quite a lot, at bedtime. So really special place in my heart.
Yeah, that's lovely. Isabel, did you?
I have more of the Disney Winnie the Pooh
Right.
because of when I was
Yes,
a kid.
when
That
you were,
was
yeah.
when in the 90s.
Yeah.
That was when that was really popular. But I still really loved it. I had all the the cartoon of when he gets stuck in the hole. I
Yeah.
remember watching that on adult video. So I have more of that kind of nostalgia. But then it was once I got a bit older, I started to want to read the books. I mean, I did read the books,
Yes.
but that's
Yeah.
what I remember
But
the most.
it was the film first and then the books.
Yeah,
that
kind
way
of.
round.
Because
Yeah.
they did a
which for me
TV
was-
show.
Yeah, for
of
me
it.
it was the books and then it was the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
similar
that's
feelings.
yeah.
Just it was nice
Yeah.
and just they're all
Yeah.
a bit silly, aren't they?
Yeah, they're
Yes.
silly,
All the
but
characters
also-
are
That's
just
another
silly,
good
yeah.
thing.
Silly and just
Yeah, but they're fabulous for audiobooks. Have you had them on audiobooks, girls? Cool.
Oh, to be read to, yeah.
I think that's really
Better than we just did. We did okay.
Well, they did okay. But the best person ever who reads them is Alan Bennett, who's a very, very famous playwright for adults. But his Eeyore is unbelievable. It is just absolutely brilliant. And in fact, when I a long time ago, when I was working in the theatre, I worked on a play that Alan was appearing in, and one evening, the company manager who looked after all the artists and the actors and things, and we used to visit them at the that's the half an hour before the show starts, came in, and Alan was in a very gloomy place. What's the matter, Alan? Well, and his voice, she was called Bar, our company manager, she said, it was very Eeyore-ish last night. And we all said, why? And it was all to do with Andrew Lloyd Webber, who had a very famous show going on and was making a huge amount of money. And of course, but he was joking, but he was Eeyore that night. So we were all joking about it the next morning. So, but he's wonderful. He's a wonderful Eeyore. And also reading it aloud if you ever get the chance.
We've got a favourite character then.
Yes,
apart from Winnie,
characters.
Winnie
Winnie the
himself,
Pooh.
I think of the
It's a
supporting
great
cast.
Marianne.
My favourite character has got to be Piglet,
Mhm.
because my mother has a kind of collection of songs or like lullabies that she used to sing to me and my sisters when we went to bed. And you know the song with Piglet in it, and it goes, "Rain, rain, rain came down, 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 rushing, rising, rippling." That one.
Mhm.
She sang that all the time. Definitely one of my favourites.
And they're great friends, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're really.
Yes, that's what you're saying.
Yes.
It's the camaraderie between them.
Yeah. Can't imagine. The two of them go off together, don't they? Do you remember when they're looking for the woozle and they go round and round the tree in the snow? Do you remember that? And they come back and there are, the woozle's following us. Oh no, the woozle's following us. Ooh. And of course, we realise, don't we, that it's their footprints, but they think it's just so sweet. So, Crystal, you got a favourite character? You remember?
I like Tigger.
You like
the
Tigger?
most.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he?
Yeah, in the
Why do you
movie I
like him?
saw, it was like he's always like kind of a mood maker, and it's just when I see him like smiling, it's just really happy. Like it just makes me happy as well.
Mhm.
And he goes bouncing on his tail, and that's really cute.
Yes, yes, it's that bouncy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost iconic now. Yeah, absolutely. Annabelle.
My favourite character is also Tigger because he's just like so excited all the time
Yeah.
and really happy and really smiley.
Yeah.
And what I like about the book is that you can read it as many times as you want and it never gets boring. So if you wanted to take it somewhere like on a school trip, then you could just take it and it would be a really easy read.
Yeah, absolutely. Easy read, but there's quite a lot in it. As you know, I'd forgotten this introduction about Edward Bear and how much there is, and sort of the direct speech. And you've got A A Milne actually a character in the book before we go into 100 Acre Wood with so they're quite sophisticated.
It's very layered. It is very
It is.
sophisticated.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
And did you know that there are lots of people? He's sort of Winnie the Pooh's such an icon. There are all sorts of. There's the Tower of Pooh. There's Pooh's cookbook. Thank you.
Pooh and the
Thank you,
philosopher.
our resident
Oh yes, oh yes. So Pooh and the philosopher. So basically,
about it.
this shows just why Pooh is just so profound, and you know all the homespun wisdom of Pooh. And yeah, I did philosophy at university. Okay, so basically, the history of Western philosophy can be all distilled down to into Winnie the Pooh. I'll just read you a little extract from this book. So Immanuel Kant, okay, he's considered to be the greatest philosopher post Plato, greatest modern philosopher, if you like.
Some claim.
What, Immanuel Kant?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that's what he's considered to be.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying that's what I'm not making an edict from above or anything here. I'm just saying this is what is the commonly accepted wisdom. Anyway, so here we go. Exploring yet again that extraordinarily rich episode of Pooh Bear and the Bees, the one we're referring to here. Let us reconsider now, from a Kantian point of view, two utterances of Pooh. The only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey, and the only reason for making honey is so as I can eat it. Incredible though it is, we must admit that some Usherian students have read this as evidence of limited intelligence, even gluttony. It is, of course, naturally, among other things, an obvious teaching device for explaining Kant's basic principle that our knowledge is strictly conditioned by the constraints of our own minds. Pooh's assumed inability to conceive of bees as anything but honey producers, and honey is accepted as food for him, represent Kant's doctrine of our inability to conceive of the world except in terms of space, time, and causality. Pooh is one of the great thinkers of our age, and of all other ages you can think of.
Okay. That's interesting. Yes.
And it goes through this.
Pooh-centric world. Yes.
A Pooh-centric world is the same as Kant's theory of the phenomenal world and the noumenal world. The noumenal world is the world as it is, and the phenomenal world is how we perceive it, and that's all we can know because we can only see it through the glasses of space and time. There you go, just giving you a very quick crash course in Kantian philosophy. as has this book with and yeah, it covers the whole history of Western philosophy. And yeah, it's amazing. So there you go. Winnie the Pooh is the most important thing in philosophy.
Love it.
So there you go.
Yes.
So when we were talking about the characters then, I should probably mention this now as well. So I went to New York, and I went
to New York.
Lucky me.
Lucky him.
And in October, and I went to the New York Public Library, which is a beautiful building, beautiful library, and they have a treasures collection. And look what they got on the cover, because it is considered to be the most important treasure in their collection. And here's a picture of them all. So you can see, Miss Hunter was talking about Edward Bear, and then we've got all the others, all the other characters that we've just been talking about. Okay, so I've got some facts written on the back that I just pulled from the website. So Pooh, or Edward Bear, was purchased at Harrods in 1921.
You see this in the film, don't you, as well?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, actually. Yes.
And how they got to New York.
Yeah, which I haven't written down yet.
No, don't worry. But it's it fills out because they're English treasures, aren't they? So why they don't tell us?
Yeah, and it's in the New York Public Library. So again, it ties in with it being a profound thing of great meaning. Given by A A Milne to his son Christopher Robin. And of course, called Edward, because of course Edward is the proper name of Teddy. And does anyone know where they're called teddy bears?
It's American too.
It's also very American. It's also very American. That is the proper. So Teddy comes from Theodore Roosevelt, the U.S. president, and he was called Teddy as a nickname, and he hated it. He hated being called Teddy Roosevelt, but that was the nickname he was given. And the reason he was given that name was it's quite a long story, really. But long story short, whilst out hunting, one of his sort of aides, trapped a bear for him, didn't he, to shoot because hunting. But he was like, well, no, actually, because this is a noble creature, and I don't think it's because it was an ignoble death. And because of this, the story got out. It was made headline news. And I thought, well, look at Teddy Roosevelt. He likes bears, hence Teddy Bear. So there you go. That's the origination.
But it would do, because the Americans, part of the American public, are absolutely. Hunting is part of
it's in their lifeblood, their heritage, or whatever.
Absolutely.
So that's there's a sort of hand teddy bear. So the rest of the toys were given, the others were given over an 8-year period between 1920 to 28, and of course that's what's gradually led to the complete collection of that we see in that you can go and see in the New York Public Library.
But what were they called before they were teddy bears?
Stuffed bears.
Germans call them.
Soft
They were
bear.
invented by Steiff, the
Yeah.
German manufacturer. I think they were just called bears.
There might be
Oh.
toy bears, maybe.
Toy
or
bears.
we'll have to look that up.
Perhaps ask you. Hello. Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming. You might be worth asking your German teacher.
And
they might know.
also, when I was in South Africa over Christmas,
Mhm.
there was I saw 2 roads that linked to Winnie the Pooh. One was House at Pooh Corner, and there was another one I forgot, but it was linking to Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, even South Africa's brilliant.
Wow.
Whereabouts?
True.
Um,
Global.
remember?
So one of them was in Cape
Cape
Town,
Town.
then the other one was also in Cape Town.
So they were houses called after that, or were they museums?
Roads and stuff.
Roads. Oh, roads. Okay, pretty cool. And the other one was
I don't know, I've forgotten, but it was something to do with Winnie the Pooh.
100 Acre Wood. Oh, great.
Have you two been to? Actually, you two as well. Have you been to Pooh Corner? Because Marianne was saying how she'd been there. You know the Ashdown Forest area that inspired 100 Acre Wood. Have any of you actually been to it by any chance? No. Because I was just talking about the New York Public Library and how you can see the bears there. But of course, it's not so easy to get to New York.
No.
But it is easy to get to Ashdown Forest,
Mm.
right? It's about 40 miles away from London, I think, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
From here, it would be about an hour and 20.
But it's definitely worth the walk. It's
Beautiful.
incredible.
it's a beautiful
Yeah.
place, and
Yeah.
there is a place. I'll pass that around.
There's
Some
also a
pictures
really
here.
nice Winnie the Pooh themed
Oh, that's really nice.
little shop in one of the
really nice.
paths,
Yes.
Last time I went there,
which
Yes.
is which is the
Yeah.
most delicious hot chocolate on a blustery walk.
On a blustery day.
Recognise that?
Oh, my brother was on that bridge, and he was just so into dropping like the pebbles into the water. My parents had to stop him and drag him off the bridge.
Naughty brother. You know what this bridge is now called?
No.
Pooh Sticks Bridge, and it's in this picture. There's only one person on it, but very often there's more people than that because
Yes.
obviously they have
Yes.
the Pooh Sticks
Two sticks.
races. So it's an iconic spot to do it, and then we got 100 Acre Wood. So I was very fortunate by going on DV Marianne.
DV was hell.
last activity week. Did either of you two go on that one? No. Last activity week, we went to 100 Acre Wood, and it is a very beautiful place around there. And I've got an article here as well. Robert McCrum wrote about
Oh, yeah.
In Pooh's Footsteps. So you can see, look, they got his. You see that? The pictures here aren't so great, I'm afraid. But you can see
They've also got Owl's House, I think.
Yeah, that's it. That's what that one is. And then, these pictures come out really badly, but as Miss Honey said, it is very beautiful. That picture I just showed you, it is very beautiful countryside, very underrated, and easy to get to. And there's like a memorial as well to the Winnie the Pooh stories there. So definitely something to capture as close as we're going to get to the magic of 100 Acre Wood in our world, just by visiting it in Ashdown Forest.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I just found the picture where Piglet is completely surrounded by water.
Yes, that's the one.
That's the one. And it would be certainly happening somewhere today.
No matter how many times I listened to that song and I knew how it ended, I always got panicked.
You always loved it.
Always
Yeah.
got panicked.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the illustrations, Miss Maria, you found out a bit about the illustrator, right?
Oh, I
Yes.
was just looking
Yeah.
him up. He's quite interesting, but he worked for Punch just after the war, and that's how he got put in contact with A A Milne. And then his daughter also married the editor of Punch in the 20s, so he was a
Ah.
cartoonist. And then I'm guessing he didn't expect he was going to be illustrating children's books.
No, and
Yeah.
he went on to have quite a good another career in children's books, didn't he? But they're
yeah.
just
They completely make it recognisable, don't they?
do.
Created
he
the
just
visual of the character.
Yeah, absolutely. It is just.
Oh. It's kind of a twofold thing, isn't it? They really work.
Yeah, they're funny.
Together. I think they shared the royalties. I read because the illustrations are what got the book so popular.
Yeah.
Quentin Blake's Roald Dahl, as we said.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't imagine Roald Dahl without Quentin Blake.
No, you
Exactly.
can't.
So,
The two need to work together. It's the same kind of thing,
That's
I think.
And there's Christopher Robin,
Oh.
who is the umbrella. So, yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, there's no bear like Pooh. But there are lots of other bears. So let's go on to celebrate other bears. Anybody like to pick something and talk about it?
Well, you might already have one in mind.
Annabelle?
Yeah, I'll do one, but I don't know which one to choose.
All right.
Oh.
So come and talk about both of them.
Okay.
So yeah, let's do a brief.
Let's read it on the mic.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So I really love his Dark Materials series by Philip Pullman because they're just written so well.
Mm-hmm.
And Ura is literally one of my favourite characters because that bear fight, the scene, I imagined it in my brain so clearly. I could literally see every line on the metal and every screw. And when the series came out, I watched it and I was like, did they just go into my mind because it looked exactly like I had imagined it?
Fabulous. What a nice surprise.
Love it when that happens.
And I was so surprised. And it was just really cool to see something that you'd imagined on TV because you usually don't see that. And everything you imagine is completely different to the TV series.
And what did you like about Uric?
So,
Just this beautiful description. Stunning,
he's
vivid.
like really cool and he stands up for things
Yeah.
and he really helps Lyra as well when she needs help.
He
So-
does. Think about, what he's like at the start of the story, though. Do you remember what he was like when we first meet him? You remember what he was like?
Oh yeah, he was really like destructive and he really didn't like anyone. He was really mad at everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
But then Lyra unlocked him.
With good reason.
sad
With good
backstory.
reason, yes, we know with good reason, but,
Good
you know.
reason.
Yeah.
But that makes it all the more satisfying when he does eventually earn his redemption and help out Lyra and become such an important figure, right?
Yeah.
Learns to trust people, after.
Yes.
Yeah, rather than just screaming at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very bad-tempered, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a change of pace from Winnie the Pooh, isn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, he's obviously a very great bear in other ways. And
Yeah.
so obviously I know that we've got some other Northern Lights fans. What do we make of him as a character?
I think he's a really good character. I think he adds a lot to the story as, like, he starts off, as you said, like, quite disgruntled at everyone, but he really, starts to care for others, and I think he helps Lyra to grow as a character, and then, in turn, she also helps him, and I think it's really nice to see them both grow together in the books.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very true. Very good way of putting it. And yeah, he's one of the. I mean, it's a very well known series, and there's lots of good characters. He's probably one of the more memorable ones in a series full of memorable characters. So, anyone else got anything they'd like to say about him, or have you been watched? Has anyone watched the third series, by the way? Of
I have. I've watched
Watched
some.
some of it, but
I keep forgetting to.
I'm a little bit behind.
I haven't watched it at all. So
I've only watched episode 4 and I've literally been dying to watch the whole rest of
wait,
it.
how many episodes are there?
There's 8.
I think they might all be on
Are
iPlayer.
they
Yeah, they
all
are.
on
Are they all
iPlayer,
out?
but they
Okay.
haven't actually all been shown live yet.
Yeah.
So they're doing one by one.
So if you
but
watch
they're
them on
doing one
TV,
Because when I went, they came out when I was in South Africa because I was there for the whole holiday, and they didn't
For
have
you.
them. Well, they did have them there, but they only have one episode, so I could only
Oh,
watch
yeah,
one
it
episode.
varies from
doesn't
country to
make
country.
it to
So
all. iPlayer doesn't make it to every country in the world. Yeah.
Yeah,
But they're still there
yeah.
because it's only just
Yeah.
not yet finished.
Yeah.
Technically on live
yeah,
TV.
as we were saying,
So,
yeah, they're about halfway
yeah.
through. So,
Yeah, so
but yeah, you can watch them all on
there is
iPlayer.
still time. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
they're well worth it.
Oh yeah, well, I think everyone who's watched it said they've enjoyed the series.
And you see in the last episode, you do see Eric again, which is great. Or the last one. one episode, so it's really good. Yeah.
Okay.
What was the other one?
The girl who speaks there.
Uh-huh.
So, I absolutely loved this book when I read it. Then my brother read it, and he absolutely loved it. He didn't think he would love it, but he did. And
Why didn't he think he would love it?
I don't know. It's probably because I said I liked it. So, yeah.
Typical brother,
Don't
eh?
you still read it?
Yeah.
Read it?
Because I made him read it.
Oh,
But
okay.
then, yeah.
Fine.
And what about it then? What's
So I love it how the girl is really like out there and she just wants to like find out what's happening, and then she finds this bear. She becomes friends with this bear, and they kind of guide each other through.
Can you tell us a bit more about what the story actually is?
So I've kind of forgotten something.
You can just read the blurb to remind yourself.
Yeah.
Just read us the blurb now.
Yeah,
just
read it
read it out
Okay.
loud.
So they call me Yanka the bear, not because of where I was found. Only a few people know about that. Found in an abandoned in a bear cave as a baby, Yanka has always wondered where she is from. She tries to ignore the strange whispers and looks from the villagers, wishing she was as strong inside as she is on the outside. When Yanka has to flee her house, looking for answers about who she really is, a journey far beyond anything she has ever imagined begins. From icy rivers to smouldering mountains, meeting an ever-growing herd of extraordinary friends along the way.
There you go. So it's almost like a misunderstood bear story, isn't it? In
Yeah.
some ways, because of who she is. And so yeah, what did you particularly like about the story?
So I really liked it because it was the bear and the girl, like, they had such a special relationship with each other. So it wasn't like a usual friendship. It was just a lot stronger than that. And they were always there for each other when they needed, but they could go off and do their own things and didn't have to be with each other all the time. And if she wanted to go adventure and he wanted to stay behind, then that was fine, and they could just...
Yeah, absolutely, and which is always again is echoes of Winnie the Pooh there.
Yes,
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
And of course, as a girl in the bear, again, Christopher Robin is very different, but
Yes.
they've got a lot of common ground. Have you read any of your other books, Sophie Anderson, by any chance?
I've read... No, I haven't. Read a bit of The House of Chicken Legs.
Yeah, that was her first
Mm.
one, and that was based on the myth of Baba Yaga, which is sort of like you know that one. So she borrows quite heavily from all these like ancient mythological traditions, and I think this one does as well, but I can't remember how.
Yeah.
Which is
There's
called
Baba
Baba
Yaga
Yaga.
in there.
Is it, Baba Yaga's in that one as well?
Yeah.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
all like Eastern
Oh, it's a
European
Russian then.
folklore, isn't it? She
Yeah.
does a lot,
She's-
right? Is that? Yeah.
Yeah, so she's very influenced by that. Yeah.
That's cool.
So
Does she have a Russian grandmother? Do I examine?
I can't remember.
I'm not
Something.
sure.
I
In-
think
in
I think she has
in
some kind
House
of
with
family.
Chicken Legs, I think there's her family's Russian. Because that was a Carnegie book, was it?
Yeah, so is this.
So is that one, yeah.
And of course, it's House of Chicken Legs because as the house
Has it-
grows
yeah.
legs and runs just like
Baba
Baba
Yaga is
Yaga.
the most
Yeah.
frightening.
Yes, quite scary.
In a good
House
way.
with
In a
Chicken
good way.
Legs or Baba Yaga?
No, Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
It's a witch story, so it's quite scary.
Because there's another the house with chicken legs, and then there's a story where she's in a tub that bounces, and it's just terrifying.
Nightmarish.
I don't know. I quite like to have a bathtub that bounces.
Yeah, it's
Would you
unusual
now?
that I don't know.
I mean, like getting around
Yes.
the bus, a bathtub that bounces. I'm just saying there are options here that sound better than some.
Well, it was a barrel.
Right, okay.
It was
Oh,
a barrel.
Again, still better than the bus.
Yes, absolutely. But it was the whole shape of it. It was just. And
Depends.
she's got long streaming hair. It was just like you were scared of the Huffalump. I was scared of Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
So, and also, you see, I was brought up with a Polish grandmother and the Poles don't like Russia. So that was part of the. Yeah.
Scaredness of Baba Yaga.
Well, it is, because it's, Baba Yaga will come and get you if you don't behave, that sort of thing. Thanks for that.
Thank
Anyway, so there were. So yes, thank you, Annabelle. That's great. Right, Crystal, any bears on your reading lists?
I'll go for Paddington.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll grab that one.
then.
Ooh,
Right
Paddington.
in. You can take
the real little
Is this
Paddington
the
with
real
you? Do you want
one?
to take Paddington with
That's
you?
the first one. Yeah. So yeah, off you go.
Like, this was the first book I attempted to read since I came to England.
Do you want to hold it up so this camera
Yeah,
can see
this
it?
one.
A Bear Called Paddington.
A Bear
Yes.
Called Paddington. And I kind of stopped in the middle because I don't know why. I found some new books probably.
Mhm.
And then I saw this Paddington movie on Netflix and I decided to watch it because I actually wanted the ending. And it was really sad because, like, this Paddington bear was a bear who lived in the forest with auntie and uncle, but they died. And, like, he still keeps the marmalade sandwich in his hat with that memory. It's really sad. And also when that doctor, I think it was trying to stuff Paddington. Was that the right?
Yes, that's in the
story?
film.
That's
That's
just
in
in
the
the
film.
film. They-
That's in the film.
They crank up the
That
peril.
is very
in the
scary.
film.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
like it got to my head.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I was like,
and-
no.
After that, every time I saw the roof of the National History Museum, it just freaked me out.
Like, it would. Like, this lady has cut open animals and just like stuffed them.
Have you
That's what
seen
taxidermy
the
That's
is.
taxidermy.
taxidermy.
That's what they do.
You know.
But
have you seen the
still-
Natural History Museum's collection of stuffed animals?
Oh yeah.
Swear
Yeah.
to God, there's
Yeah.
a lot of
I went
them.
with year 8 this year. I couldn't come with you because I'd been already with year 8.
I love,
She's
the,
so-
I
she's
love
so
the Natural
haunted by
History
it now.
Museum,
Yeah.
but the taxidermy is a no.
Yeah.
They just
Hard
terrify
no.
me.
Yeah, they are terrifying. I spent a lot of my childhood going to Booth's Museum in Brighton, which the whole museum it's the size pretty much of this library, and it's square. It's a rectangle, and as you walk in, case after case after case, stuffed animals, kittens dressed in nightgowns, mice dressed up, you know, like Beatrix Potter but stuffed. Okay? That's
I thought they were alive when I was little.
yes,
And I was like
yes,
tapping on the cages, and I was like,
yes.
"Animal, wake up!"
Yeah.
And it wasn't waking up.
It's sad.
And then I asked my mum, "Why aren't they waking up?" And she's like, "They're not alive." And then I started crying.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sounds traumatic, doesn't it?
Understandable, really.
Yeah.
It was
So,
very
so did you like the end of the book or the film? Have you got to the end of the book, or did you watch the
I
end
watched
of
it
the
on
film?
the film. I
Right.
wasn't bothered to read all of the books, but I might reread it soon before I leave. And
Are you leaving, Crystal?
yes,
Are you?
Are you?
yeah,
When?
in 2 weeks' time.
Oh,
What?
That's so sad. We're going to miss you.
Mm.
Oh well.
That's a
Yeah.
bombshell. Wow. We didn't realise. So next episode's going to be your last one.
then.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, do. You want to borrow that so you can read it?
yeah.
Yes.
Before you go.
And the ending was just like the other books. It was a happy ending. It was because when I saw the film, I was year 4, so I thought it was a good ending. And I mean, like,
Did you identify with Paddington coming to a different country? Did you feel that he went through similar?
yeah, stuff like that. Yeah,
Not quite
because-
being stuffed, but obviously not stuff you. But did you feel that that sense of getting to know a new place and
Yeah.
new people? Yeah.
But he was really like already like a British person when he came here.
It's true.
True.
Yes, the influence of the explorer in the film,
Yeah.
certainly. Yes, yeah. And in the book, he's there on Paddington Station, just arrived. But yes, he
Yeah.
already. But they've given him much more of a backstory with the blessing of Michael Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is lovely. Yeah.
yeah. That's it.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah,
Thank you
we-
very much.
I'll
Thank
go
you. Marianne, do you want to talk about a bear in particular?
I might also go with Paddington.
Yeah, that's
Like
fine.
new-
Of course,
new take.
absolutely.
Coolio.
Paddington 2, yes.
Literally. No, but when the
Paddington 2 was
prison
so
people-
funny. Oh
but
my
when the
god.
prison
Hilarious.
people,
I
like,
love the
betrayed
prison people.
him.
Yes.
And that was so sad.
I know.
I
was
almost
like, Why
cried.
did they betray him?
But it's a sort of
What's wrong
motif,
with
isn't it? That
him?
keeps recurring.
Mm.
Why do you think they keep putting it in the movies?
To have the plot twist.
Well, yeah.
To
Yeah.
get more excitement so people will actually
Yeah.
watch it.
Yeah, but it's also something that we all go through, doesn't it? All the time. We people
Get
let us
betrayed.
down, and not necessarily betrayed.
Yeah, that's that would be that's a bit strong.
No,
So
it's
we
a bit
get
strong.
betrayed all the time.
We go through bad times. We go through good times, but there's also a lot of fun, isn't there? I think Paddington 2, I'll talk about that in a minute. Go on, Mariam. You talked about Paddington. Talk to us about Paddington.
So I have never actually read the Paddington books. I have never picked up a Paddington book. But I did have the audiobooks. Because I used to have the CD player, and every night I would put Paddington in the CD player, the exact same disc,
lovely.
and I would listen to the exact same story every single night. And I would always time how long it took me to go to sleep by which story I got up to. And I loved it. I loved Mr. Gruber, I loved Paddington, and just the general Paddington-ness of everything. And I especially love the one where Paddington had edited what's his name, Mr. Brown's,
Mr. Brown.
when he submitted a painting to the
Academy
like,
Summer Exhibition.
Yeah. And then he won with Paddington edited version because Mr. Gruber had showed him this painting that he was cleaning, and there was a painting underneath, and he explained to Paddington how canvases were very rare, so poorer people, like a few hundred years ago, used to paint over canvases, to still have the canvas. And he was cleaning it, and he found this picture underneath, and sometimes pictures could be worth like thousands underneath. And so Paddington was like, "Oh, I'll go see if this painting that I found has anything underneath." But of course, it was Mr. Brown's entry, and I just found it utterly hilarious. I could never get to sleep on that one because I just kept laughing the entire time. Yeah, so Paddington is very key part of my childhood. It's very nostalgic,
Yes.
And then Paddington 2 was a roller coaster.
It was,
oh my god.
Yes.
I love the costumes. But it's such a good movie, and how Paddington is such a good feel-good family movie, and how they manage to pull it off every single time. I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing
Paddington's
how they
the
do.
best.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got that British eccentricity, but also the childhood motifs from all sorts of people's childhoods, and so from your age to my age to much older as well. There's the organ. I mean, that's way back, really, from early 20th century, maybe even earlier, and the fairground, and then there's the fortune teller and the dancers and the circus motifs. Yeah, so it has everything, doesn't it?
It's just it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Thank you very much. It's brilliant. Okay, thank you. Josie, you want to talk or
Not really.
no? Holly? No? Yes? No? Okay. All right. Miss Rio, you want to offer us a bear?
Sure. I've got, and I can talk about. So we don't have a copy of the one I was going to talk about, but I'm definitely going to go down the route of nostalgia with Old Bear. Does anyone know Old Bear? Maybe a bit too old now for you. But it's all set in this child's bedroom, and the illustrations are so cute. They're kind of a bit like Winnie the Pooh, where they're really like classic stuffed animals, and there's all these different types of bears. And this group of bears remember, they move house, and then they remember their friend Old Bear, who reads them stories every night, is still up in the attic, and they have to they have to do an excursion to try and put pillows and everything up to the attic to try and get him. And it's so cute. and then they save him, and that's the first book, and then the stories is just all these cute animals having adventures in this little bedroom. It's kind of Toy Story-esque.
Yes.
But with a more Winnie the Pooh kind of
just
wholesome vibe.
Yeah.
But they did a animation, like a stop-start animation of it as well. I think that was in the 90s they did that, because I remember that.
It's familiar, even though I can't necessarily I wouldn't have sat down and watched it as a child, but
I watched a lot of that.
Yeah, but yes, it's certainly familiar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it
it's a
was
great
real
story.
actual like teddies,
Yeah.
and they animated the whole thing. So like when they're creating the tower to get up to the
Yeah.
attic, it's all real. It's real so cute.
Yeah.
I read something. It took about 5 or 6 weeks per episode because of how long it took, just with all the animating. Yeah. But if you want something really, really wholesome, have a look at the clips of that because they're so cute.
Yeah.
But that's probably my one.
It's that motif, isn't it, of toys coming alive as well. Sorry to interrupt you.
I just thought that's Year 6 English.
Oh, thanks very
Yeah,
much.
borrowed
Great.
it.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, and Slaughter.
It's similar to what Crystal was saying there with the wholesome,
Yes,
heartwarming, sweet.
absolutely.
It's a similar kind
And
of
it's
thing.
toys coming alive and having adventures together, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Mouse and His Child by Russell Hoban is similar. They go off. They're looking for something, and they meet all these different characters. And sometimes they're real creatures, and sometimes they're wind-up creatures. Clockwork. 'Cause when Hoban wrote it, we did have battery toys, but he wanted to go back again.
Sure.
Yeah. No, it's lovely. Old bear.
Yeah.
Lovely. Mr. Humphries, any other
well,
bear?
one I've just thought of is Baloo from the Jungle
Oh
Book.
yes, of course, from Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, has anyone read the Jungle Book?
You read it?
'Cause I'm hopefully some people have seen the film.
I've watched it.
Yeah?
So-
Okay.
Yeah.
I read
So
Disney.
So, Josie,
but I don't
yeah.
think I have finished.
yeah, okay.
I
So
love the film.
what do you make of Baloo in particular as a character from the film?
Blue the bear.
Baloo the bear. What do you make of him?
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's kind of the
The bare necessities.
Yeah,
Think of the song, the bare
yes,
necessities. That that's his keynote
He's
song,
philosopher
isn't
as
it?
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. There you go. These bears are great thinkers,
Yeah,
aren't they?
Absolutely.
So
It's like a gentle
funny.
he's
giant.
fun.
Isn't he?
He's a gentle giant. He's fun loving. He really cares very deeply for Mowgli. Now, in the original book, he wasn't quite like that, was he?
Not quite like
He
that.
he did. He was good natured. He cared deeply for Mowgli, but he was more of a sort of almost like a teacher figure in some ways. I would say. Yeah, he is very much about imparting life, almost like Bagheera is in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, Bagheera
Yes.
is the sort of like
Realist.
strict, responsible, and he's a bit like that. So it's interesting they went down that route to make him more cuddly. Yeah, it's Disneyfication again.
Well, it is, but I think it's also something to do with the fact of the bear in American folklore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, both something to hunt, but also the teddy bear.
Yeah.
Because of,
Yeah, absolutely.
and so
yeah,
if you're going
definitely.
to have, because Bagheera, of course, he's much more of the not of the darkness, but certainly but then of course panthers are of the darkness.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And Baloo is a sort of, he's the, in a sense, he's a bit like a grandfather, isn't he? But also an uncle and
Yeah.
Big brother kind
Big
of
brother.
character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
familial authority figure.
which
So,
isn't there necessarily in the
I mean, yeah, it is. Yeah,
in the books.
and also, this is Rudyard Kipling as well.
Yes.
You think of like the If poem, but also what were the Just So stories? They're all very what's the word?
Didactic.
Yeah,
In
thank
some
you.
ways.
Yeah, sledgehammer.
Yeah, yeah.
Moralizing, you know.
But it's that. But he's
saying
writing
it.
for a Victorian audience.
Yeah,
essentially, isn't
precisely.
it?
Whereas the Jungle Book came
Um,
out at a slightly more relaxed time,
In the
shall we say?
60s, right? Was it 60s?
60s,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and also they've got. I'm sure they had particular casting already in mind when they'd animated.
True, because it was all done with real people and then drawn over it. Wasn't
Well,
it?
no, it wasn't. It was.
Did they not do
Yes,
it with
it was the drawings were real. They weren't. Nothing was done on machine at all.
Like Snow White.
Yeah, like Snow
Frame
White.
for frame.
Yeah, Bambi. Yeah, I mean hundreds of drawers, artists working in this essential, dream factory.
Yeah.
And you can actually, I can't remember where the artwork is, Marianne, but it's a massive archive somewhere. And sometimes, in fact, I was looking at something the other day, and there was a website for a second-hand bookshop, and they've got a book of the original, not originals, but it was printed in full colour of the background paintings of Bambi. at the time the film came
Yeah.
out. This is the sort of iconic nature of them now. The book is worth, it was on sale, this is just prints, full colour prints, you know, like the size of Paddington, and you went through and it would have explanations and, you know, sort of like, so it's like this landscape. I think it was on sale at £6,000
Wow.
because it's so special, because it's so rare. And can you imagine for Snow White what that would be like? They didn't have it, but
wow, yeah.
Yeah.
The very first
incredible.
one.
So yes, so literally, and then they would all be put together, and then you know it's like stop animation.
Yeah.
And like Alice in Wonderland, you can look. They took, you know, some of the more physical scenes. They took photos of an actual girl doing all the movements, and then drew over it. Which is and same with Sleeping Beauty. You watch it back, it's so smooth. I think they did that with Jungle Book as well.
I think they probably
blue.
did. That was they
Not all of
started
them,
to trace, but there was certainly no computer
Oh, no,
animation
no,
at
no.
all. No,
But
no.
I think that's why his character feels so human
yeah.
as well, because it
Yeah.
was like the
Which, of
movement
course, with
was
Pixar, there was the in the early days. Well, they're very wooden. They don't seem. sort of-
No, you don't kind of get the
Yeah,
smooth movement.
that's right.
But, yeah.
But yeah. Is there a bear in Toy Story? Yes.
Oh, there is.
Oh,
yeah,
there is.
The pink one.
Oh my goodness,
my God,
he is
the
terrifying.
baddie.
Toy
Yeah.
Story
No.
2
I
or
think
3?
is it 3? I think it's 3. I think it's 3.
Yeah,
Three.
because the new one's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten
Yeah.
about him.
He
What
was
a baddie.
Oh, he was a
Oh, we've
real
got our
bad
first
bear.
bad bear.
Oh, my
all these
bad
either
bear.
cute bears or noble
Gosh.
bears. Now we've got a bad bear.
No.
Oh.
So, oh god.
Oh, but the power, the
Nightmarish.
manipulation, oh gosh. And of course he was originally he was lost, and then they found him and put him on the front of a dustbin truck.
At the end, that's his like.
That's
what
right. That's what happens to him. Which of course is
I forgot
that
about
is
that.
what used to happen. It doesn't happen now so much, but yes, dustbin men used to put toys on the front of their.
Why?
Well, because the things that have been chucked away, and just it was a way of
They didn't want it to go in the bin. I
didn't
guess.
go in the bin because it was too sad.
Oh.
Yeah, since this was when councils had employed their own bin men rather than franchising it out. Now it's much more about health and safety, but occasionally you have a look sometimes, not just poppies,
some
but
trucks,
sometimes.
yeah, you
some
see.
trucks, yeah. Depends if they've had that truck for a long time. Oh gosh, I'd forget. Yes, bad
Yeah,
bears.
he's mean.
Yeah. Yes, there is another bad bear too, isn't there? In the Winter's Tale. Which is also features in Paddington, Exit Pursued by a Bear.
Sit in the big chair.
There it is. The Winter's Tale.
If anyone needs to go, by the way, because I just noticed it's gone 5
Yeah, it's gone
You don't have
5
to stay.
o'clock. So if you want
need
to,
to get
if you
going.
want,
Okay.
don't feel. So, before we finish, in A Winter's Tale, and it's also a quote because in Paddington 1, Judy, this is obviously part of the humour, is reading it in her class, and they've got to the point where Exit Pursued by a Bear suddenly is there, and there's Paddington sailing past with his policeman helmet on, being chased by the police and chasing a thief. And in The Winter's Tale, the poor courtier who has taken the baby Perdita to Bohemia and is going to leave her on the shore because her father doesn't believe that she is his daughter. It's all a play about jealousy, and it's Paulina's husband. Paulina comes back at the end in a different way, but he has to abandon her on the seashore. He wouldn't have done this, but because he has to run for his life from this bear. And it's one of the funniest stage directions, and one of
the most
There it is.
famous.
it's one of the main famous. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
As stage directions come.
Oh yes.
Yes.
It's the most famous.
It's one because there aren't many. stage directions in Shakespeare. They're mostly put in by the editors, but it is. So, though I like to have a lullaby too rough, in other words, he has to leave her. I never saw the heavens so dim by day, great big storm, a savage clamour, huge, synthetic fallacy writ large, okay. Well, may I get aboard? This is the chase. I am gone for ever. Exit, pursued by a bear. Now, one of the versions I saw with Jeremy Irons, he was the father of Perdita, great big rug comes up out of the pit, and it's a polar bear, white, and it does this. And poor, it just goes. And there are other ways as well, so that's really, it's funny. It's executed by bear. We've also got other bears, haven't we, on the...
there's bears everywhere.
Bears everywhere.
We got some little, for the very young,
there.
there's a bear in my chair, some Greenaway ones, and the good bear.
Yeah. Bulgy Bear in Prince Caspian. He has. They have the honour of maintaining the lists. In other words, in the jousts and the fights, he puts his hands in his ruby cheek to keep selling him off. And then We're All Going on a Bear Hunt. Do you remember that? Iconic.
Best book of the century.
Under, over.
Can't go under it. We can't
go over it.
We've got to go through it.
Exactly. Yes. And by the wonderful Michael Rosen. Fortunately, he's still with us.
Yes.
Despite having suffered from COVID.
But he's unfortunately there. I was about to say.
But no. But he's still very much. He's back at full power, having a lovely time with his kittens and writing away still. Just before we finish, I want to have a spare thought for Hanif Qureshi, who is a writer that you might come to in later on in your lives, who wrote a wonderful film called My Beautiful Laundrette, very early for Channel 4. Buddha of Suburbia. Massive voice and outpouring on Twitter. He had a very bad fall 10 days ago and is in hospital and is at the moment fearing that he may never will be able to write again, because at the moment he's paralysed. It's getting better every day, but I just want to have a think about him and how and send him all our very best wishes. But I want to finish off with Pooh finally, if you would permit. Is that all right?
Yeah.
This is right at the end of the House of Pooh Corner, because there are lots of references, and then the House of Pooh Corner is the second book, the sequel to Winnie the Pooh, which some of you will have heard. Do you hear that House of Pooh Corner on audio as well, or just Winnie the Pooh?
I've just got Winnie.
You just got Winnie the Pooh. So they have Christopher Robin at the end of the House of Pooh Corner has gone away to school, to what we now call prep school, and it's a boarding school. This is what happened in the 1920s of boys of his with the class of his parents, but it meant leaving home. And he says, "Pooh, promise you won't forget about me, ever. Not even when I'm 100. Pooh thought for a little. How old shall I be then? 99, Pooh nodded. I promise, he said. Still with his eyes on the world, Christopher Robin put out a hand and felt for Pooh's paw. You want to hold Pooh's paw, Annabelle, just for the last? Yeah? Pooh, said Christopher Robin earnestly, if I'm not quite... He stopped and tried again. Pooh, whatever happens, you will understand, won't you? Understand what? Oh, nothing. He laughed and jumped to his feet. Come on. Where? Said Pooh. Anywhere, said Christopher Robin. So they went off together. But wherever they go, and whatever happens to them on the way, in that enchanted place on the top of the forest, a little boy and his bear will always be playing. Thank you, A A Milne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Winnie the Pooh. And thank you, Paddington, for being with us today. Thank you, girls. That was brilliant.
Thank you, everyone.